Hey everyone, welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to be taking a look at some really inspiring stories about mental health and well-being. And they're all sourced from X.
Mm.
X, that place that used to be called Twitter. It's honestly pretty amazing to see these little glimmers of hope and resilience online, especially when we think about how chaotic online spaces can be sometimes.
It really is. You know what really strikes me is the honesty, like the sheer honesty and vulnerability people bring to these stories. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there like that, to share such personal journeys. And I think that really speaks to this growing desire for authenticity, even in the digital world.
You're so right. It's like people are breaking down those walls,
Yeah.
saying, hey, I'm struggling. And that's okay. And you know what? Other people are responding with empathy and understanding. It's like this ripple effect of support.
Exactly. And it reminds us that even though the internet is this vast space, we're not alone in our experiences. There's a sense of community building around shared vulnerability. And I think
Mm.
that's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so let's dive into one of these stories. Someone shared their journey of being 7 months free from self-harm and suicidal attempts after facing some really difficult times 6 years ago. 7 months. I mean, that's amazing. It really stopped me in my tracks when I first read that.
Absolutely. That's such a significant milestone. And it really speaks volumes about the strength and determination it takes to choose recovery and to choose it every single day. What I find remarkable is that this person credits their progress to finding a creative outlet. They started painting and found that expressing their emotions through art helped them process their pain. And it helped them process it in a healthy way.
Wow, that's incredible. I can just picture them channeling all those difficult emotions onto the canvas.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that healing can take many forms. Sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's medication, and sometimes it's finding that unique outlet that allows you to express yourself authentically.
Absolutely. It really does reinforce the importance of personalized care and mental health. There's just no one-size-fits-all approach. What really matters is finding what resonates with you, what helps you cope, what empowers you on your own individual journey.
So we've got creative expression as one pathway to healing. What about professional support?
Yeah, well, there's another powerful story we have here. This one is from someone whose life was completely transformed by finding a doctor who genuinely listened to them. For years, they struggled with anxiety, bouncing from one doctor to another, feeling unheard and misunderstood. And then finally, they found a doctor who took the time to truly understand their experiences, their fears, their hopes.
I can imagine that feeling. The feeling of finally being seen and heard after years of feeling dismissed must have been such a relief.
It was. And it really underscores the critical importance of the patient-provider relationship. It's not just about diagnoses and treatments. It's about feeling validated, respected, and empowered to actively participate in your own well-being. This individual finally received the proper diagnosis, and they started an anxiety management plan that helped them regain control of their life.
It reminds me of that saying, the best doctor is the one who listens. It sounds so simple, but it's so profound. It makes you wonder, how many people are out there struggling because they haven't found that doctor who truly sees them?
That's a crucial question, and it really highlights those disparities in access to quality mental health care. And that actually brings us to another interesting aspect of this conversation, the role of technology and artificial intelligence in bridging those gaps.
Okay, so AI. Let's talk about AI. This is where things get futuristic, right? We have this incredible story about someone who found PRTMS, that's personalized transcranial magnetic stimulation, by the way.
Mm.
They found PRTMS to be absolutely life-changing. After almost 3 months of treatment for multiple mental health conditions, they said it felt like a fog had lifted, and they were finally able to experience joy and clarity again.
PRTMS is fascinating. Just imagine a treatment that uses magnetic pulses to stimulate specific areas of the brain. It's showing real promise for conditions like depression, anxiety, and even PTSD, especially for people who haven't found relief through traditional methods, like medication or therapy.
So it's not like electroshock therapy. I have to admit, when I first heard about it, I pictured something a little bit more intense.
Not at all. It's a non-invasive procedure. You're awake and alert during the treatment, which usually lasts about 20 to 30 minutes. The magnetic pulses create a mild tapping sensation on your scalp. The beauty of PRTMS is that it can be tailored to target specific areas of the brain associated with different conditions. That's where the personalized aspect comes in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But how readily available is it? It sounds pretty cutting edge.
It is becoming more widely available, but access can still be a challenge. It depends on your location and insurance coverage. But the research is encouraging. As the technology advances and awareness grows, hopefully we'll see it become more accessible to everyone.
Speaking of technology, We can't ignore the rise of AI chatbots, like Wobot. Remember Alison Darcy? And her mission to create a chatbot that could provide mental health support, especially during those late-night moments when traditional resources might be unavailable.
Wobot's a great example of how AI can potentially make mental health support more accessible. Imagine being able to reach out for help anytime, anywhere, right from your phone. This could be a game changer for people in rural areas, or people who work unconventional hours, or anyone who feels hesitant to seek traditional therapy.
That makes me think of someone who might be experiencing a panic attack in the middle of the night. Being able to connect with a chatbot that can offer coping mechanisms and resources, that could be incredibly valuable.
Exactly. It's not meant to replace human connection or professional therapy, but it can be a really valuable bridge, especially in those moments when you need immediate support.
But there are concerns about AI and mental health too, right?
Of course, as with any new technology, there are ethical considerations. For example, ensuring data privacy is paramount, and we need to be mindful of potential biases in algorithms. It's a constantly evolving landscape. Open dialogue is essential to ensure that AI is developed and implemented responsibly.
Okay, so AI is one piece of the puzzle, but we also have these incredible stories about the power of community in mental health.
Yeah, community plays such a vital role. It helps foster that sense of belonging, it reduces stigma, and it provides a network of support that can make all the difference.
Like that program in Connecticut, the one that combines mental health treatment with job training. They're not just addressing the emotional and psychological needs, but also the social and economic factors that can really impact well-being. It's like this holistic approach that recognizes that our lives are all interconnected.
And it's seeing incredible success. The participants are reporting improvements in their mental health, they're gaining valuable job skills, and feeling more hopeful about their futures.
That's amazing. It's so great to see these initiatives, the ones that recognize that true well-being is about so much more than just the absence of mental illness.
No.
It's about creating an environment where people can thrive in every aspect of their lives.
Exactly. And it really does take a collective effort, you know? We all need to be advocates for mental health in our communities, supporting organizations, pushing for policy changes, and creating spaces where people feel safe to share their stories without judgment.
Speaking of sharing stories,
Yeah.
one thing that really struck me while reading through these posts on X was the diversity of voices and experiences. It's a reminder that mental health affects everyone, regardless of background, culture, or identity.
Absolutely. And it highlights the importance of inclusivity and cultural competency in mental health services. Everyone deserves access to care that's sensitive to their unique needs and experiences.
Like the deaf community advocating for culturally competent mental health services. Imagine seeking help and not being able to fully communicate with your therapist because of language barriers. That's a huge obstacle to receiving effective care.
It really is, and it's an issue that extends beyond the deaf community. We need to ensure that mental health services are accessible and inclusive to everyone, regardless of language, cultural background, or any other factors that might create barriers to getting support.
It makes you realize that there's still so much work to be done to create a truly equitable and inclusive mental health system. But it's inspiring to see people speaking up, advocating for change, challenging the status quo.
It really is inspiring. These conversations are so crucial. We need to keep talking about these issues, raising awareness, working towards a future where everyone has access to the support they need.
When I think about the future of mental health,
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the role technology will continue to play. We talked about AI chatbots and PRTMS, but what other innovations are on the horizon?
Oh, there's so much exciting research happening right now. For example, virtual reality therapy is showing a lot of promise for treating things like phobias and anxiety disorders. Imagine being able to confront your fears in a safe, controlled, virtual environment. It's such a powerful tool. It can really help people overcome those real-world challenges.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Are there any developments that could help with things like early detection and prevention? I mean, catching those mental health issues early on can make such a huge difference in someone's life.
Yeah, there's a ton of research being done on that right now. A lot of it's focused on using AI, like using it to analyze things like speech patterns, social media activity, and even facial expressions, all to identify those early warning signs of mental health conditions. The hope is to develop tools that can help individuals and healthcare providers intervene sooner and hopefully prevent more serious issues from developing.
That's amazing. It's like having a digital guardian angel looking out for your mental well-being. But it also makes you think about those ethical implications, right?
Yeah.
Where do we draw the line between helpful intervention and overreach?
You raise a really important point. as with any technology, especially one that deals with such sensitive personal information. We need to be thoughtful, make sure ethical considerations are at the forefront of development and implementation.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about personal stories of resilience, the importance of that patient-provider relationship, the potential of AI, the power of community, the need for inclusivity, and all the exciting things happening in the future of mental health technology. It's a lot to process.
It really is, but I think the overarching theme that emerges from all of this is hope.
There's hope. There's a growing awareness, a willingness to talk openly about these issues, and a recognition that we're all in this together.
I agree. And it's not just about raising awareness, it's about taking action, reaching out to someone who might be struggling, offering a listening ear, letting them know they're not alone.
It's about advocating for better mental health resources in our communities, supporting organizations that are doing incredible work, and challenging the stigma that still prevents so many people from seeking help.
And we can't forget about self-care. Taking care of our own mental well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. It allows us to show up for ourselves and for others with compassion and understanding.
You know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to those stories we explored from X.
Yeah.
They're not just anecdotes. They're powerful reminders that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of hope, a reason to keep going, and a possibility for healing and growth.
They remind us that every journey is unique, and there's no right or wrong way to approach mental well-being. What matters is finding what works for you, seeking support when you need it, and continuing to learn and grow.
So as we leave this conversation, I will leave you with a question. What resonated with you most from these stories? What insight, what story, what possibilities sparked something within you?
Was it the individual who found freedom from self-harm through art? Or the transformative power of finding a doctor who truly listened? Maybe it was the potential of AI to make mental health support more accessible. Or those inspiring community initiatives that are creating a more inclusive and supportive world.
Whatever it was, hold on to that feeling. Let it inspire you to start a conversation, reach out to someone in need, or simply take a moment to prioritize your own well-being.
Remember, every step towards greater balance and harmony in our mental health is a victory, not just for ourselves, but for the collective well-being of our communities and society as a whole.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Remember, you're never alone. And there is always hope. There's a growing awareness, a willingness to talk openly about these issues, and a recognition that we're all in this together.
I completely agree with you, and it's not just about raising awareness. It's about taking action, like reaching out to someone who might be struggling, offering a listening ear, or just letting them know they're not alone.
Yeah, it's about advocating for better mental health resources in our communities, supporting organizations that are doing such incredible work, and challenging the stigma that prevents so many people from seeking help.
And let's not forget the importance of self-care, too. Taking care of our own mental well-being, it's not selfish. It's essential. It allows us to show up for ourselves and for others, with more compassion and understanding.
You know, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I keep coming back to those stories we explored from X. They're not just anecdotes. They're powerful reminders that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of hope. There's a reason to keep going. And there's always a possibility for healing and growth.
That's so true. They remind us that every journey is unique. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to mental well-being. The important thing is finding what works for you, seeking support when you need it, and continuing to learn and grow.
So as we leave this conversation, I want to leave you with a question. What resonated with you the most from these stories? What insight, what story, what possibility sparked something within you?
Was it the person who found freedom from self-harm through art? Or the transformative power of finding a doctor who truly listened? Or maybe the potential of AI to make mental health support more accessible? Or maybe those inspiring community initiatives that are creating a more inclusive and supportive world?
Whatever it was, hold on to that feeling. Let it inspire you to start a conversation. Reach out to someone in need, or just take a moment to prioritize your own well-being.
Remember, every step towards greater balance and harmony in our mental health is a victory, not just for ourselves, but for the collective well-being of our communities and society as a whole.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Remember, you are never alone, and there is always hope.